getting there. So just take as long as you need to help yourself to find the posture that may be lying down. We're going to do a compassionate body scan. So not going to be that a longer scan, but it's a chance to maybe bring in a sense of that kindness as part of this Mental Health Awareness Week, and knowing that actually it can be really hard for us to sometimes bring kindness to ourselves. So being really gentle with this, and as Kate suggested, kind of listening and following to the instructions, but also knowing that it's okay to let go of the instructions and really take care of your own body, mind, and heart. So in whatever way is helpful, that you could give the space that is needed for this mind, body, and heart. So allowing that moment to really settle into this posture. And be feeling the points of connection to the kind of contact to whatever is holding this body, whether it's a bed, a mat, a chair. Seeing if we could allow ourselves to really sink in and settle into this space. Letting the body really melt into its kind of base, into the ground, into the earth. And maybe sensing in this body the breath, noticing subtle movements somewhere in the body as the breath flows in and as the breath flows out. So letting the attention really settle, a bit like a butterfly landing on a flower, that gentle settling on this subtle movement, this rhythm, following the breath. And maybe feeling it in different places around the body. Maybe if you're led down, that sense of the rib cage expanding into whatever is beneath you. The rising and the falling of the chest or the belly. Wherever the breath is showing up right now. And whenever the mind wanders off into its various thinking patterns, whenever you notice the mind is kind of lost in a stream of thinking, you've woken up in that moment. So in that moment, returning your attention back to the breath right now, firmly and kindly. That is the practice. So following this movement, this simple rhythmic movement that the breath brings to this body. And maybe a sense on the out-breath, following a few out-breaths with a particular focus. And in that kind of breath flowing out of the body, maybe a sense of letting go, letting be. an invitation to take or leave as you choose, always listening to the body to feel and see what's right. But an invitation to place the hands somewhere, so on the heart or on the belly. You could have one hand on the heart and one hand on the lower belly, or wherever feels helpful, supportive. This kind of contact between the hands, and the body. So allowing a moment to feel the sensations of contact. Maybe a sense of warmth, connection. Well, that sense of being held. A sense of the breathing and the hands. Perhaps even feeling through the hands a sense of movement of the breath as it flows all the way into this body, all the way into the lungs, filling up these lungs and then emptying out. That way the lungs subside back. And perhaps there's a sense of the heart space. Maybe there's a hand on the heart space, around the heart, maybe not. But just for a moment, seeing if it's possible to just sense that space, if that feels okay, always knowing that you can choose what's right for you. Whether that means opening your eyes for a moment, or even moving around, allowing yourself to follow that need, and seeing if you can stay connected to a degree of awareness through that process of movement, or of opening the eyes, or of whatever it is that is needed in that moment, letting go of instruction, whatever it is. Sensing that heart space if, as best you can, maybe through the hands, maybe just as it is, breath. This body being held by the earth, by the ground, and by our own hands, if that's your choice. This in itself is an act of kindness, giving yourself this space. When things might be feeling really tough right now, giving this some space. So letting go of that focus of attention, and if the arms or hands want to move back down by the sides, then making that choice, whatever feels comfortable. And taking attention all the way down to the feet. Letting the attention, the awareness gently sink all the way down to the feet, a bit like a pebble in a well, or imagining the feet. And particularly letting it settle in the toes, the big toes of both the right foot and left foot, and all the other toes. Seeing what it's like to bring attention into this place in the body. Maybe you can really sense some of the toes, or maybe some of them are even numb. Seeing if we could stay open to the sensations just as they are. And then extending awareness along the sole of the foot. Maybe kind of really tuning into the arch of the foot, where that real kind of tense kind of tautness can sometimes be. So letting the awareness really sink into the structure of the foot, the little bones, the tendons. And then the ankles. So the whole of both the right foot and left foot in our awareness. And then allowing the breath to kind of join these feet. So breathing into the feet. You might even want to open up the toes a little, if that feels okay. Breathing up into the feet. Maybe sensing the aliveness of these feet. The breath filling up and emptying out. And perhaps these feet work really well for us. They do the job. They carry us through and along into so many different places. And maybe there could be a sense of gratitude for these feet, how they manage to keep us upright. Or maybe these feet give us some degree of suffering and perhaps not enabling us to move in a way that we want to. Would it be possible to allow a little bit of compassion for ourselves and for these feet, if this is the case? So a sense of breathing into these feet, breathing out. Breathing in gratitude if that feels right, or breathing in compassion. They're doing the best they can. And sensing and coming back to that kind of sense of the aliveness, perhaps, feet as a whole. And then letting go of the attention, letting the feet dissolve into the background and shifting all the way up through the legs to the knees, to the thighs. If it's possible to be curious about whatever arises through these legs, through these knees. Maybe noticing sensations of contact, simply where the softness of the calf muscles are in contact with something, or the thighs in contact. Zooming in and zooming out with our attention, kind of moving the spotlight around, being curious. And whenever the mind wanders, that is the practice. That is kind of us being alive. Our mind is always wandering. When you notice, bringing your attention right back to arising sensations in the legs. And again, maybe it's hard to feel sensations in the legs for whatever reason. So is it possible to really kind of tune in finely to what that feels like, that kind of absence, numbness? Not trying to change anything, just being curious about it as it is. And breathing in to the legs and breathing out of the legs. And again, perhaps that sense of these legs as they are. Perhaps they really provide what we need. There's a sense of them giving us everything. Or maybe there are some aspect of our legs that aren't working as well as we would like. So again, that sense of, is it possible for us to really bring to these legs either a sense of gratitude for their movement, or perhaps some words, some sense of compassion towards our legs. Maybe even considering what a friend might say to us. Some way of supporting. Breathing in gratitude. Breathing in compassion and kindness. And then letting go of the legs, letting them dissolve into the background and shifting attention up into the pelvis, these pelvic bones or the organs. And again, spending a moment kind of tuning into any arising sensations here. The hip sockets. They work so hard for us. And maybe sometimes they struggle, or maybe there's ease in that. So seeing again, is it possible to allow a sense of gratitude for this part of our body, or some words that might feel supportive, sense of compassion or kindness if we experience pain in these places. And taking a long, slow in-breath into the lower half of the body, all the way into the pelvis, all the way down to the feet and out from that place. And shifting attention up to the torso. Maybe sensing the breath, moving the body, sensing the spine. Seeing what sensations arise in this whole region. Maybe there's a fullness in the stomach or an emptiness. Maybe you're really sensing where the shoulder blades are in contact with something. Maybe you can feel the heart beating. Always remembering that it's, always okay to go to the breath if anything feels too much, or another place that feels neutral in the body. And perhaps sensing that heart space once more in this region of the body, and inviting into this space either some gratitude for all of these organs working together, or some other aspect of this part of the body, the way that this all works as best as it can. Or some compassion and kindness. If there's a struggle around a particular part of this body, a particular organ, or seeing if it's possible to bring some sense of kindness to this part of the body. And breathing in and breathing out, and letting attention kind of float down the arms, all the way down to the fingers. Sensing contact there, palms of the hands, elbows. And again, that sense of how these arms work for us, or how sometimes they might be a challenge. When we struggle to lift things or move these parts of the body in a way that we need, or we feel we need. So again, that invitation for gratitude for what does work, or how the body does the best it can under the circumstances. Or compassion and kindness when it can't kind of quite work in the way that we would like. Is it possible to allow ourselves to breathe in some words of kindness around our arms, our fingers, our shoulders? And breathing in and breathing out. And letting the attention shift finally to the head, all the way up the neck, the throat, the jaw. Sensing the lips, the nose, the eyes, the weight of the head. And the ears. So perhaps that kind of a moment to be grateful for these ears, just absorbing sounds for a few seconds. we can receive these sounds and make sense of them and just open to them as part of this present moment experience. And for all the other senses, bringing a sense of gratitude for these amazing senses, the eyes, the smell, the taste, in the head, and maybe the kind of billions connections in the brain. There's a sense of gratitude for this incredible process and system. Or maybe if some aspect of our senses, our brain isn't giving us what we feel we need and want, maybe some words of kindness. Body is doing the best it can. And then taking a moment to breathe into this whole body. Perhaps one more kind of opportunity to breathe in some sense of compassion or kindness or gratitude to the whole body, in through the head and out through the feet. And back in through the feet and out through the head. That way the breath could flow all the way through this body, in and out. Breathing in kindness. Breathing out kindness. Breathing in gratitude for the parts of this body that work. Breathing out gratitude. And just for a couple of seconds, seeing if we could let go of everything and be in this body just as it is. Letting go. And then following the sound of the bells, taking a moment to shift and gently move back into a position that feels more upright perhaps, and kind of more of a sitting position. So following the sound of the bells into silence.